Racist banker denies black man a loan, then finds out he owns the bank. How will this story turn out? To find out, watch the video to the end. But first, please subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications to get more stories like this. The small-town bank sat in the heart of the community, its structure a relic of the past, with tall, imposing columns and brass doors that gleamed under the morning sun. For decades, this bank had been a symbol of security and hope for many, but for others, it was a reminder of a different, darker legacy. Nathaniel Brown was a man of principle and resilience. A middle-aged black entrepreneur, Nathaniel had spent years building his construction business from scratch. His reputation in the community was stellar, his work ethic unmatched, and his projects were known for their quality and timeliness. Yet, he faced a wall that many before him had encountered, a systemic barrier that seemed determined to thwart his progress. Nathaniel entered the bank that day with a sense of cautious optimism. Dressed in his best suit, he carried a folder containing all the necessary documents: business plans, financial records, and letters of recommendation from prominent members of the community. This loan was crucial. It would allow him to expand his business, hire more employees, and take on larger projects. He had prepared for weeks, knowing the importance of presenting himself professionally. Inside the bank, the air was crisp with the scent of freshly brewed coffee and polished wood. The tellers smiled politely as Nathaniel made his way to the office of Gerald Whitman, the bank manager. Gerald was a man of wealth and privilege, his office adorned with awards, certificates, and photographs of his golfing escapades with other influential figures. He had a reputation for being shrewd, but not necessarily fair. Nathaniel knocked on the door and was invited in. Gerald looked up from his desk, his smile stiffening as he saw who had entered. Despite the formalities, there was an unspoken tension in the room. "Mr. Brown, is it?" Gerald said, his tone clipped as he extended a hand. "Yes, sir. Thank you for seeing me today," Nathaniel replied, shaking Gerald's hand firmly. Nathaniel wasted no time, laying out his plans with clarity and confidence. He spoke of his business's success, the potential for growth, and how the loan would not only benefit him but also the community by creating jobs and stimulating the local economy. He highlighted his excellent credit score and the collateral he was willing to offer. Gerald listened, nodding occasionally, but his demeanor remained aloof. As Nathaniel concluded his pitch, Gerald leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. "Mr. Brown," Gerald began, "while your proposal is admirable, I'm afraid this bank has certain policies and risk assessments that must be considered. Granting loans to, shall we say, businesses like yours comes with unique challenges." Nathaniel's heart sank, though he maintained his composure. "Businesses like mine?" he echoed, his voice calm but firm. Gerald's smile tightened. "You must understand, Mr. Brown. Statistics show that businesses owned by minorities tend to have higher default rates. It's nothing personal, just numbers." Nathaniel felt a surge of anger but suppressed it. "With all due respect, Mr. Whitman, my business has been profitable for years. I've never defaulted on a payment, and my records are impeccable. This decision should be based on facts, not assumptions." Gerald sighed, feigning sympathy. "I wish it were that simple, Mr. Brown. Unfortunately, our policies are in place for a reason. I'm afraid we cannot approve your loan at this time." Nathaniel stood, his hands gripping the edges of his folder. "Thank you for your time, Mr. Whitman," he said, his voice steady despite the storm of emotions within him. As he left the bank, Nathaniel felt the weight of the rejection. It wasn't just about the loan, it was about the principle. He had done everything right, yet he was denied because of who he was. But Nathaniel was not a man to be defeated easily. This was not the end of his journey, far from it. Outside the bank, a crowd bustled about, oblivious to the injustice that had just occurred within those walls. Nathaniel stood for a moment, his mind racing with thoughts of his next move. He refused to let this setback define him or his dreams. Nathaniel spent the evening reflecting on the day's events. He sat at his kitchen table, surrounded by piles of paperwork and his laptop. His wife, Monica, entered the room, her face etched with concern. She had been his unwavering support throughout his entrepreneurial journey. "How did it go?" she asked gently, placing a hand on his shoulder. Nathaniel sighed deeply. "They denied the loan. Gerald Whitman claimed it was due to policies and risk assessments, but we both know what that really means." Monica's expression hardened. "Nathaniel, this isn't fair. You've worked harder than anyone I know. You've proven yourself time and time again. There has to be another way." Nathaniel nodded. "I'm not giving up, Monica. If this bank won't support us, I'll find one that will. I've come too far to let ignorance and bias stop me now." For the next few weeks, Nathaniel dedicated himself to finding alternative solutions. He reached out to other banks, credit unions, and even private investors. Each time, he encountered similar excuses cloaked in polite language. The rejections piled up, but so did Nathaniel's determination. One evening, while scrolling through his emails, a subject line caught his attention: "Empowering Minority Entrepreneurs, Small Business Development Program." Intrigued, he opened the email and discovered a government-backed initiative aimed at supporting minority-owned businesses. The program offered grants, low-interest loans, and mentorship opportunities. This could be it, Nathaniel thought, a glimmer of hope reigniting in his heart. The application process was rigorous, requiring extensive documentation and interviews. Nathaniel poured his energy into preparing the best possible submission. Monica helped him review every detail, ensuring nothing was overlooked. Together, they stayed up late into the night, fueled by determination and the belief that change was possible. Weeks later, Nathaniel received a call from the program's director, Angela Torres. Her warm, enthusiastic voice immediately put him at ease. "Mr. Brown, I'm pleased to inform you that your application has been approved. Your business aligns perfectly with our mission, and we're excited to support your growth." Nathaniel's heart swelled with gratitude. "Thank you, Ms. Torres. This means the world to me. I promise to make the most of this opportunity." With the grant funds and a low-interest loan, Nathaniel began expanding his business. He hired more employees, purchased new equipment, and took on larger projects. His company quickly gained recognition for its quality work and commitment to community development. Local newspapers featured stories about Nathaniel's success, celebrating his resilience and vision. One day, as Nathaniel was supervising a construction site, his phone buzzed with an unexpected call. It was from the Chamber of Commerce, inviting him to speak at their upcoming business conference. The event would be attended by influential figures, including bankers, politicians, and community leaders. At first, Nathaniel hesitated. Public speaking wasn't his forte, and the idea of addressing such a prominent audience was daunting. But Monica encouraged him, reminding him of the importance of sharing his story. "You've inspired so many people already," she said. "This is your chance to show them what perseverance and integrity look like." On the day of the conference, Nathaniel stood backstage, his palms slightly sweaty as he adjusted his tie. When his name was announced, the audience erupted into applause. Taking a deep breath, he stepped onto the stage, his resolve steadying with each step. "Good afternoon," he began, his voice strong and clear. "My name is Nathaniel Brown, and I'm here to share a story. Not just my story, but the story of countless individuals who face barriers simply because of who they are." He spoke candidly about his experiences, detailing the challenges he had faced in securing financial support despite his qualifications. He highlighted the importance of programs like the one that had supported him, emphasizing the need for systemic change. As he concluded his speech, the room erupted into a standing ovation. Among the attendees was none other than Gerald Whitman, the bank manager who had denied Nathaniel's loan. Gerald's face was a mixture of surprise and discomfort as he realized the extent of Nathaniel's achievements. After the conference, several attendees approached Nathaniel to commend him on his speech. Among them was Angela Torres, the director of the program that had supported him. "Nathaniel, your story is powerful," she said. "Have you ever considered serving on our advisory board? Your insights could help shape the future of this program." Nathaniel was taken aback by the offer but quickly realized its potential. "I'd be honored," he replied, If I can help others avoid the struggles I faced, it would be worth every effort. Meanwhile, Gerald returned to his office, unable to shake the impact of Nathaniel's speech. For years, he had operated under assumptions and biases that he now realized were unfounded and detrimental. Determined to make amends, he decided to reach out to Nathaniel. A week later, Gerald walked into Nathaniel's office, the roles now reversed. Nathaniel greeted him politely, though there was an undeniable tension in the room. "Mr. Brown, I wanted to personally congratulate you on your success," Gerald began, his tone sincere. "Your story is nothing short of inspiring." Nathaniel nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Whitman. I appreciate that." Gerald hesitated, then continued. "I also wanted to apologize for the way I handled your loan application. I realize now that I let biases cloud my judgment, and for that, I'm truly sorry." Nathaniel studied Gerald for a moment before responding. "Apologies are a start, Mr. Whitman, but what matters more is action. If you're serious about making amends, I suggest revisiting your bank's policies and ensuring they're fair and inclusive." Gerald nodded, visibly humbled. "You have my word, Mr. Brown. Things will change." As Gerald left, Nathaniel couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. Not just for himself, but for the progress being made. His journey had come full circle, transforming an obstacle into an opportunity for growth and change. Over the years, Nathaniel's influence continued to grow. His business thrived, and his work on the advisory board helped countless entrepreneurs achieve their dreams. He became a beacon of hope, proving that resilience and determination could overcome even the most entrenched barriers. Here's the continuation of your story, ensuring it reaches the 1,500-word mark for this batch. Months passed, and Nathaniel's life had transformed in ways he never anticipated. His business had expanded beyond his wildest dreams. He now had contracts with city governments, schools, and hospitals, making his company one of the most respected in the industry. The grant he received had not only saved his dream, but had also given him the momentum to build a legacy. Nathaniel also became a mentor to other entrepreneurs, particularly those who had faced similar discrimination. He started hosting free workshops on financial literacy, business planning, and resilience, all aimed at empowering minority communities. He knew firsthand how the lack of access to knowledge and resources could stunt dreams, and he was determined to be the bridge for others. At one of his workshops, Nathaniel met a young man named Terrell, who reminded him of his younger self. Terrell had a small landscaping business and dreams of scaling it into a full-fledged construction company. But, like Nathaniel, he had faced countless rejections from banks and investors. "I just don't understand," Terrell said during a one-on-one session. "I have a solid business plan, and my track record is good. But they still say no. It's like they don't even care to listen." Nathaniel nodded, his expression sympathetic yet determined. "I know exactly how you feel, Terrell. But remember, rejection doesn't define you, your response to it does. Keep knocking on doors, but also build your network. Sometimes, the key to success isn't who you know. It's who believes in you." Inspired by Nathaniel's words, Terrell followed his advice. Nathaniel even introduced him to Angela Torres, who helped connect Terrell with resources and programs tailored to small businesses. Within months, Terrell's company began to grow, and he often credited Nathaniel as the catalyst for his success. But Nathaniel's impact didn't stop there. His speech at the Chamber of Commerce had attracted the attention of influential figures, including city officials who wanted to discuss policies to support minority-owned businesses. Nathaniel found himself sitting at tables he once thought were inaccessible, advocating for systemic changes that would dismantle the barriers he and others had faced. One such meeting was with the mayor, a progressive leader named Elaine Patterson. She had heard about Nathaniel's journey and wanted his input on a new initiative aimed at creating equitable access to capital for underserved communities. "Nathaniel," Mayor Patterson began, "your story is a testament to what's possible when people are given a fair shot. But we both know that many others don't get that chance. What do you think needs to change?" Nathaniel leaned forward, his passion evident. "Mayor Patterson, it starts with accountability. Banks and financial institutions need to be held to higher standards. Programs like the one Angela Torres runs are a great start, But we also need policies that ensure fairness is baked into the system. It shouldn't take extraordinary resilience for someone to access the resources they deserve. The mayor nodded thoughtfully. You're absolutely right. How would you feel about joining a task force to help design these policies? Your perspective would be invaluable. Nathaniel was taken aback by the offer but didn't hesitate. I'd be honored, Mayor Patterson. This is exactly the kind of change I've dreamed of contributing to. Meanwhile, Gerald Whitman had followed through on his promise to Nathaniel. Under his leadership, the bank implemented new training programs focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. They also established a dedicated fund for minority-owned businesses, ensuring that financial support was accessible to those who needed it most. One day, Gerald invited Nathaniel to speak to the bank's employees about his experiences. Standing in the very building where he had once faced rejection, Nathaniel shared his journey with honesty and hope. The staff listened intently, many of them moved to tears by his resilience and grace. As Nathaniel concluded his talk, Gerald stood to address the room. Nathaniel, your story has opened our eyes to the ways we've fallen short, but it's also shown us the power of change. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to learn and grow. Nathaniel smiled, his voice steady. Thank you, Gerald, for recognizing the need for change and taking action. It's never too late to do the right thing. The moment was a powerful testament to the ripple effects of perseverance and compassion. What had started as a personal battle for fairness had evolved into a movement that was reshaping the community. Years later, Nathaniel's company became one of the largest in the region. He employed hundreds of workers, many of whom were people who had faced their own struggles with discrimination. His office walls were adorned with awards and accolades, but what meant the most to him were the letters and testimonials from people he had inspired. One letter came from Terrell, who had recently secured a multi-million-dollar contract with the city. It read, "Dear Mr. Brown, I can't thank you enough for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Your mentorship and example have changed my life. I hope to one day pay it forward, just like you did for me. Sincerely, Terrell." Nathaniel kept the letter in a frame on his desk, a daily reminder of why he did what he did. But perhaps the most unexpected turn of events came during a ribbon-cutting ceremony for a new community center Nathaniel had funded. Among the attendees was Gerald Whitman, who had since retired from the bank. He approached Nathaniel with a smile, holding an envelope. "I wanted to give you this," Gerald said, handing him the envelope. "It's a personal thank you for everything you've done. Not just for the community, but for me. You've taught me more than I ever learned in my decades in banking." Inside the envelope was a handwritten note and a check for a significant donation to Nathaniel's foundation. Touched, Nathaniel shook Gerald's hand, their shared journey a testament to the power of redemption and unity. As Nathaniel looked out at the crowd that day, he saw a reflection of his journey. A community transformed, barriers broken, and dreams realized. He knew there was still work to be done, but for the first time in a long time, he felt the weight of his struggles lift, replaced by a profound sense of purpose. Here's the continuation of your story, maintaining the word count of 1,500 for this batch. Nathaniel's journey continued to inspire change, not just locally but on a much larger scale. His involvement in the mayor's task force led to significant policy reforms that created pathways for minority-owned businesses to access resources without discrimination. The initiative became a model for other cities, and Nathaniel was often invited to speak at conferences and seminars across the country. At one such event, Nathaniel met a woman named Lila Johnson, a civil rights attorney who had been fighting for economic equity for decades. Lila was captivated by Nathaniel's story and his ability to turn adversity into advocacy. "Nathaniel," she said after his keynote speech, "your story isn't just inspiring. It's a blueprint for systemic change. Have you ever thought about writing a book?" Nathaniel laughed. "A book? I've thought about it, but I wouldn't even know where to start." "Start with the truth," Lila replied. "People need to hear about what you've been through and what you've accomplished. It's more than just a story. It's a call to action." Encouraged by Lila's words, Nathaniel decided to give it a try. Over the next year, he worked with a ghostwriter to document his journey, from his childhood struggles to his transformative encounter with the bank and beyond. The book, titled Breaking the Bank, Turning Rejection into Revolution, was released to critical acclaim. It became a bestseller, sparking conversations about economic justice and inspiring countless readers to pursue their dreams despite the odds. The book's success brought Nathaniel even more opportunities to expand his impact. He was invited to testify before Congress about the barriers faced by minority entrepreneurs. Standing in the Capitol, Nathaniel felt a mix of nerves and determination. He knew this was a chance to influence change on a national level. Honorable members of Congress, he began, his voice steady, I stand before you today not just as a businessman, but as someone who has lived through the systemic inequities that many Americans face. Access to capital should not be a privilege reserved for a select few. It should be a right for anyone with the vision and determination to build something meaningful. We need policies that ensure fairness, accountability, and opportunity for all. Nathaniel's testimony resonated deeply, leading to the passage of new legislation aimed at reducing racial disparities in lending practices. The law, named the Fair Access to Capital Act, was a historic milestone, and Nathaniel's role in its creation was widely recognized. But despite his growing influence, Nathaniel remained grounded. He continued to mentor young entrepreneurs and invest in community projects. One of his most ambitious initiatives was the launch of the Brown Empowerment Fund, a venture capital firm dedicated to supporting underrepresented business owners. The fund quickly gained traction, attracting investors who shared Nathaniel's vision of creating a more equitable economy. Meanwhile, Nathaniel's personal life flourished as well. He married Angela Torres, whose unwavering support and shared passion for social justice made them a formidable team. Together, they raised a family, teaching their children the values of resilience, empathy, and service. One day, as Nathaniel walked through the offices of his venture capital firm, he noticed a familiar face. It was Terrell, the young man he had mentored years ago. Terrell was now a successful entrepreneur in his own right, and he had come to pitch an idea for a new business venture. Nathaniel, Terrell exclaimed, his smile wide. It feels like I've come full circle. I wouldn't be here without you. Nathaniel shook his hand warmly. Terrell, you've earned this. I just gave you a little push. Now let's hear about this idea of yours. As Terrell outlined his vision, Nathaniel couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. This was what it was all about, lifting others up and creating a ripple effect of empowerment and success. Back in the community, the ripple effects of Nathaniel's work were visible everywhere. Small businesses were thriving, neighborhoods were revitalized, and people who had once been marginalized now had seats at the table. The bank that had once denied Nathaniel a loan had transformed under Gerald Whitman's leadership, becoming a symbol of what could happen when institutions committed to change. One afternoon, Nathaniel received a call from Gerald, who had been keeping him updated on the bank's progress even after his retirement. Nathaniel, Gerald began, I have some news I think you'll appreciate. The board has decided to rename the main branch in your honor. It'll be called the Nathaniel Brown Center for Economic Empowerment. Nathaniel was stunned. Gerald, I don't know what to say. That's incredible. You've earned it, Gerald replied. Your story, your resilience. It's changed lives. It's only fitting that your name represents what this institution now stands for. The dedication ceremony was a powerful moment. Community members, city officials, and business leaders gathered to celebrate Nathaniel's legacy. As he stood before the crowd, Nathaniel reflected on how far he had come. From a young man rejected by a bank to a leader who had reshaped the very system that once excluded him. I stand here today because of the people who believed in me, Nathaniel said in his speech. But more importantly, because I refuse to give up. My hope is that this center will be a beacon of hope and opportunity for generations to come. As the crowd erupted in applause, Nathaniel felt a deep sense of fulfillment. His journey had been filled with challenges, but it had also been a testament to the power of perseverance, community, and the unwavering belief that change was possible. Following the dedication of the Nathaniel Brown Center for Economic Empowerment, Nathaniel's influence grew far beyond what he had ever imagined. The center quickly became a hub for aspiring entrepreneurs, offering workshops, mentorship programs, and resources that helped countless individuals turn their dreams into reality. From small business owners launching their first ventures to seasoned entrepreneurs scaling their operations, the impact was undeniable. One of the center's most notable programs was its microloan initiative, designed specifically to help those who had been overlooked by traditional financial institutions. The program provided low-interest loans to individuals with innovative ideas but limited access to capital. Over time, it became a lifeline for countless entrepreneurs who had previously been denied opportunities. Among them was Maria Lopez, a single mother with a passion for baking. For years, Maria had dreamed of opening her own bakery, but she had been repeatedly turned away by banks. When she heard about the Nathaniel Brown Center, she decided to give it one last try. To her surprise, not only was her loan approved, but she also received mentorship from experienced bakers and business consultants. Within a year, Maria's bakery, Sweet Beginnings, had become a neighborhood favorite. She employed several local residents, sourced her ingredients from nearby farms, and even partnered with local schools to provide fresh pastries for their events. Maria often credited Nathaniel and the center for her success. "Without this program, I wouldn't be here," she said during an interview with a local news station. "Nathaniel Brown didn't just give me a loan. He gave me hope." Stories like Maria's became the cornerstone of Nathaniel's legacy. He frequently visited the businesses he had helped launch, taking pride in seeing his community thrive. But while Nathaniel was focused on lifting others, he couldn't ignore the ongoing challenges in the world around him. Discrimination and systemic inequities still persisted, and he felt a responsibility to do more. During a board meeting at the center, Nathaniel proposed a bold new initiative, a nationwide campaign to promote economic justice and dismantle discriminatory lending practices. The campaign, titled Equity for All, aimed to hold financial institutions accountable, educate the public about their rights, and advocate for policy changes at both the state and federal levels. "We've made incredible progress here in our community," Nathaniel told the board, "but there are millions of people across this country who are still being denied opportunities. It's time to take our fight to a larger stage." The board unanimously supported the initiative, and the campaign quickly gained traction. Nathaniel traveled across the country, speaking at town halls, universities, and conferences. He met with lawmakers, activists, and community leaders, building a coalition dedicated to creating a fairer economic system. One of the most pivotal moments of the campaign came during a televised debate with a prominent banking executive who opposed Nathaniel's proposals. The executive argued that stricter regulations would stifle innovation and burden financial institutions. With all due respect, Nathaniel responded, his voice calm but firm, "Innovation means nothing if it's built on the exclusion of entire communities. Fairness isn't a burden, it's a necessity. We're not asking for handouts. We're asking for a level playing field." The debate went viral, with millions of people praising Nathaniel's eloquence and conviction. The campaign's message resonated deeply, sparking a nationwide conversation about economic justice. Donations poured in, allowing the Equity for All movement to expand its reach even further. Meanwhile, Nathaniel's efforts continued to inspire change on a personal level. One day, he received a letter from Gerald Whitman, the former bank manager who had played a key role in transforming the institution. Gerald had retired years earlier but remained a staunch supporter of Nathaniel's work. "Nathaniel," the letter read, "I've spent a lot of time reflecting on my career, and I realize now that meeting you was one of the most transformative experiences of my life. You taught me what leadership truly means, not just making decisions, but making a difference. Thank you for showing me the power of change." The letter moved Nathaniel deeply. It was a reminder of how far they had both come and how their collaboration had paved the way for progress. As the Equity for All campaign gained momentum, Nathaniel faced new challenges. Critics accused him of being too idealistic, while others questioned whether meaningful change was even possible. But Nathaniel refused to be deterred. He often recalled the words of his late father, who had always encouraged him to stand firm in his convictions. "Change is never easy," Nathaniel would tell his team. "But if we give up now, we're giving up on the people who need us most. And that's something I'll never do." His determination paid off. The campaign succeeded in passing landmark legislation that strengthened anti-discrimination laws, increased transparency in lending practices, and provided funding for minority-owned businesses. The victory was celebrated as a major step forward, but Nathaniel knew there was still more work to be done. Back home, the Nathaniel Brown Center continued to thrive, expanding its programs and reaching even more people. Nathaniel often brought his children to the center, teaching them the importance of giving back and standing up for what's right. His oldest daughter, Maya, showed a particular interest in the work, often shadowing her father during meetings and events. "Dad," she said one evening as they walked through the center's halls, "do you think I could work here someday?" Nathaniel smiled. "Maya, this place is as much yours as it is mine. If you want to be part of it, I'd be honored." As Maya grew older, she became increasingly involved in the center's initiatives, eventually launching a youth entrepreneurship program that encouraged young people to explore their passions and develop their skills. Nathaniel couldn't have been prouder. Years later, as Nathaniel prepared to step back from his day-to-day responsibilities, he reflected on the journey that had brought him to this point. From the moment he was denied a loan to the countless lives he had touched along the way, it had been a path filled with challenges, triumphs, and lessons. At his retirement celebration, Nathaniel addressed a crowd of friends, family, and colleagues. "This isn't the end," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "It's just the beginning. The work we've done here will continue to grow, because it's not about me. It's about all of us. Together, we've built something that will stand the test of time." As the crowd erupted into applause, Nathaniel felt a deep sense of fulfillment. His journey had been about more than overcoming adversity. It had been about creating a legacy of hope, resilience, and change. Nathaniel's legacy extended far beyond his local community. His work with the Equity for All campaign caught the attention of international leaders, advocacy groups, and institutions striving to address systemic inequalities in their regions. Invitations for conferences, collaborations, and panel discussions flooded his inbox. Despite his humble beginnings, Nathaniel had become a global advocate for economic justice. One particularly memorable moment came when Nathaniel was invited to speak at the United Nations. The room was filled with delegates from all over the world, each representing diverse cultures and challenges. Nathaniel's speech focused on the universal need for fairness and equality in economic systems. "Access to opportunities is a fundamental human right," he began, his voice echoing through the grand hall. "It's not a privilege reserved for the few. Whether we are in a small town or a bustling metropolis, the barriers we face may look different, but the fight for dignity and opportunity unites us all." Nathaniel shared the story of how he had been denied a loan, using it as a microcosm of the larger systemic issues many communities face. He outlined practical steps for creating equitable economic systems, emphasizing the importance of policy reforms, grassroots initiatives, and cross-sector collaboration. When he finished, the room erupted into a standing ovation. Delegates lined up to thank him, inspired by his words and eager to bring his ideas back to their own countries. It was a defining moment in Nathaniel's journey, a testament to how one person's determination could ignite change on a global scale. Back at home, the Nathaniel Brown Center continued to flourish. Its programs expanded to include technology training, financial literacy workshops, and mental health support for entrepreneurs navigating the stresses of building a business. The center's impact was evident in the stories of its participants. One of those stories was that of Amir Khan, a refugee who had fled his war-torn homeland with nothing but his skills as a tailor. Amir struggled to find work in his new country, facing language barriers and cultural prejudices. When he heard about the Nathaniel Brown Center, he hesitated, unsure if he would be welcome. But the center's welcoming environment quickly put his fears to rest. With the center's support, Amir secured a microloan to open a small tailoring shop. The center's mentors helped him develop a business plan, and its marketing workshops taught him how to promote his services. Within months, Amir's shop became a community staple, known for its impeccable craftsmanship and friendly service. Nathaniel often visited Amir's shop, marveling at the intricate designs and listening to Amir's dreams of expanding his business. During one visit, Amir handed Nathaniel a beautifully tailored suit and said, "This is my way of saying thank you. You believed in me when no one else did." Nathaniel wore the suit proudly, knowing it represented more than just fabric. It symbolized the resilience and potential of every person the center had helped. As Nathaniel's influence grew, so did the challenges he faced. Critics accused him of being too idealistic, questioning whether his initiatives could truly make a lasting impact. Some labeled him a disruptor, claiming his push for systemic change threatened traditional institutions. But Nathaniel remained steadfast. He had learned early on that change was never easy, and he drew strength from the people whose lives had been transformed by his work. He often shared their stories, using them as evidence that progress was not only possible but necessary. One such story was that of the Williams family, who had been on the verge of losing their farm due to predatory lending practices. The Nathaniel Brown Center provided them with the resources and support they needed to restructure their finances and keep their land. Today, the Williams farm is a thriving business, supplying fresh produce to local markets and creating jobs in the community. At a public forum, Nathaniel addressed his critics directly. "For every person who says this work is impossible, I can point to a family, a business, or a community that's thriving because we dared to believe in change. We're not here to maintain the status quo. We're here to build a better future." His words resonated deeply, and the support for his initiatives continued to grow. Donations poured into the center, allowing it to expand its reach and develop new programs. Nathaniel also forged partnerships with larger organizations, ensuring that his vision could be scaled to benefit even more people. One of the most significant partnerships came with a major tech company that shared Nathaniel's commitment to equity. Together, they launched a program to provide low-income communities with access to technology, training, and mentorship. The program aimed to bridge the digital divide and empower individuals to pursue careers in the tech industry. The program's launch event was a testament to Nathaniel's vision. Hundreds of young people attended, eager to explore the opportunities now within their reach. Nathaniel spoke to the crowd, his voice filled with hope and determination. "This is just the beginning," he said. "When we invest in people, we're investing in our future. Every one of you has the potential to create something incredible, and we're here to help you every step of the way." As Nathaniel looked out at the sea of eager faces, he felt a profound sense of fulfillment. His journey had taken him from being denied a loan to transforming countless lives. And yet, he knew there was still more work to be done. Nathaniel's impact extended far beyond the individuals he had helped. His story became a symbol of resilience, hope, and the power of community. People from all walks of life were inspired by his journey, finding the courage to pursue their dreams and fight for change. In the years that followed, Nathaniel continued to advocate for equity and justice, working tirelessly to create a world where everyone had the opportunity to thrive. His legacy was not just in the programs he had built or the policies he had influenced. It was in the lives he had touched and the dreams he had helped bring to life. As Nathaniel's initiatives flourished, they sparked a ripple effect across the nation. Local governments, inspired by the success of the Nathaniel Brown Center, began adopting similar programs to uplift underserved communities. Nathaniel frequently found himself invited to meetings with mayors, governors, and policymakers eager to learn from his model. One of the most impactful meetings took place in Washington, D.C., where Nathaniel was asked to advise on a new federal program designed to address economic disparities. The initiative aimed to provide grants to community-led organizations that supported marginalized groups. Nathaniel emphasized the importance of listening to the voices of those directly affected by systemic inequities. "Real change starts with the people," he said during the meeting. "They know what they need better than anyone else. Our job is to empower them with the resources and tools to achieve their goals." His words resonated with the policymakers in the room, leading to the creation of the Community Equity Fund. The fund provided millions of dollars in grants to grassroots organizations, many of which credited Nathaniel's advocacy for their success. Meanwhile, the Nathaniel Brown Center continued to innovate. One of its newest programs focused on youth empowerment, providing mentorship, scholarships, and leadership training to young people from disadvantaged backgrounds. The program quickly gained popularity, with hundreds of students enrolling each year. One of those students was Maya, a high school senior with dreams of becoming a lawyer. Maya had faced numerous obstacles, including financial struggles and a lack of access to quality educational resources. But with the center's support, she received a scholarship to attend her dream university. At a ceremony honoring the center's scholarship recipients, Maya stood on stage and shared her story. "I used to think my dreams were impossible," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "But the Nathaniel Brown Center taught me to believe in myself. Now, I'm on my way to law school, and I'm determined to fight for justice just like Mr. Brown." Nathaniel listened to Maya's speech with tears in his eyes, reminded once again of why he had started this journey. Her story was one of many that kept him motivated, even in the face of challenges. However, not everyone was supportive of Nathaniel's work. As his influence grew, so did the resistance from those who felt threatened by his vision of equality. He received hate mail, faced smear campaigns, and even encountered opposition from powerful corporations that profited from the very systems he sought to dismantle. Despite the adversity, Nathaniel refused to back down. He leaned on his team, his family, and the community he had built for support. Together, they weathered the storms and continued to push forward. One particularly challenging moment came when the Nathaniel Brown Center was targeted by a coordinated disinformation campaign. False accusations circulated online, accusing the center of financial misconduct. The campaign gained traction, casting doubt on Nathaniel's integrity. Rather than retreat, Nathaniel addressed the situation head-on. He held a press conference to refute the claims, providing transparent financial records and inviting an independent audit of the center's operations. His openness and honesty quickly dispelled the rumors, and the community rallied around him with an outpouring of support. The experience reinforced Nathaniel's belief in the importance of transparency and accountability. He implemented new measures to ensure the center remained a model of integrity, setting a standard for other organizations to follow. Through it all, Nathaniel's family remained his anchor. His wife, Lena, was his confidant and biggest supporter, often working behind the scenes to help manage the center's operations. Their children, now teenagers, were equally proud of their father's work. They often volunteered at the center, eager to contribute to the legacy their father was building. One evening, as Nathaniel and his family sat around the dinner table, his son, Elijah, asked a question that gave him pause. "Dad, do you ever get tired of fighting all the time?" Nathaniel set down his fork and looked at his son thoughtfully. "There are days when it's hard," he admitted. "But when I see people like Maya achieving their dreams, or families like the Williamses thriving, it reminds me why I do this. Change isn't easy, but it's worth it." Elijah nodded, seeming to understand. "I want to help too," he said. "Maybe one day, I can take over the center and keep making a difference." Nathaniel smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "You already are, son. Every little bit helps, and together, we're building something that will last for generations." As the years went on, Nathaniel's work continued to evolve. He launched new initiatives, expanded the center's reach, and deepened his partnerships with other organizations. His name became synonymous with hope and resilience, a beacon for those striving to create a better world. One of the most poignant moments of his journey came during a reunion event at the Nathaniel Brown Center. Hundreds of people whose lives had been touched by the center gathered to celebrate its impact. The room was filled with laughter, hugs, and stories of triumph. Nathaniel stood on stage, looking out at the crowd with a mixture of gratitude and awe. "This isn't about me," he said, his voice steady despite the emotion welling up inside him. "This is about all of us. Together, we've shown that change is possible. And this is just the beginning." The applause was deafening, a testament to the lives he had transformed and the hope he had ignited. Nathaniel knew there was still much work to be done, but in that moment, he allowed himself to savor the progress they had made. His journey from being denied a loan to becoming a global advocate for equity was a testament to the power of resilience, community, and the unwavering belief that everyone deserves a chance to succeed. Nathaniel's story was far from over. It was a legacy in the making, one that would inspire generations to come.